I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. Found all the right buttons. Good morning. Welcome. Hope you are having a good day on this Wednesday, ready for Ask the Theologian and ready to take your biblical, theological, and worldview questions, see what is on your mind, how you're doing today, all that kind of stuff. And you can, on any of the platforms you're watching, if you happen to be watching live, use the word question first. That helps me not to miss it. Or you can go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to askthetheologian.com. There's an Ask a Question button there. If you're with us all the time, you know how that works. And we are just always delighted to take care of what's on your mind today and always. And why don't we start with this question right here? Just jump right in. Hello and good morning, and same to you. Is Isaiah 26:9 for all mankind? Now, let's take, first of all, just a little, somewhat probably obvious note, in that Isaiah is speaking to the northern kingdom. The default would be to say, hey, I think he's probably speaking to Israel in the northern kingdom. But that would be way too shallow, because we know two things. One is, okay, directly to the northern kingdom, those people in Isaiah's day. That would be the surface level meaning. Number two is a message that is prophetic, that is for all of the Jewish people, that extends well beyond the current setting, sort of this dual fulfillment of prophecy. A lot of that in Isaiah, like even, unto us a child is born, some of those Isaiah 9 passages, whatnot, that are prophetic for Israel and thus have an impact on all mankind. And then there's a third thing in that in the context of a conversation, Isaiah very well could be saying something that comes from God and is to all mankind. So it wouldn't be the default for Isaiah, but it might be there. Now, with that, the only way we can find out is go in and read it. Maybe we'll be able to find out just from the verse itself, or maybe we'll have to dig in just a little bit and say, okay, what is sorry, as I push buttons there, try to get the volume where you can hear me really well. What is it that's direct? Can we find that out from the context itself? Does it apply further, or is it just naturally so clear that we're going to apply it further? Isaiah chapter 26, verse 9. With my soul have I desired thee in the night, yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Now, I am assuming that the I here is probably specifically Isaiah. And Isaiah says, Lord, when will you come and judge the earth? For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. We'll see how literally we're going to take all of that here in just a moment. But there is a sense in which it's saying, hey, Lord, come take care of business. You are the only one that's going to fix it. Now, Isaiah is sharing his own soul. There are some, obviously, that would not hold the same sentiment, but a lot of people would. I mean, especially in the Christian world. I'll even broaden it, let's just say to the world of Christendom. A lot of people indeed would say, yeah, I think that, virtually all of Christendom probably would be happy to say, with my soul I have desired in the night. When we're in the night, yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. Okay, here's where my spirit is. My spirit wants to communicate my soul. When thy judgments are in the earth. It's a prayer. I mean, all of us have prayed along with the Apostle Paul, come quickly, Lord Jesus. When thy judgments are in the earth, that is, they're They are, God is active. God has come. God is here. The inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Now, this is the phrase I want to stop on for just a moment. But let me go ahead and say, yeah, there's a real strong sense in which I don't think you would do yourself any favors to limit this and say that is only true of Isaiah. He's the only one. Never, ever again should anyone take that. So there is, for all people who believe in God, in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, believe that he is coming to execute judgment, there is, from time to time, when you see the wicked prosper, there is this desire to say, yeah, okay. So I think the answer is yes. Now, let's look and see if it's true if I pray it. This is an anonymous question, so I don't know who to blame on it. But let's say if I pray it. With my soul I have desired thee in the night. I think that could be true. It probably is of all of us from time to time. With my spirit within me I seek thee early. True of all of us from time to time. When thy judgments are in the earth, we know that we do not live in, we're right dividers, we don't live in an age in which God is judging right now, but we sure wish he would. So, yeah, when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Now, we know that when he leaves, there are some inhabitants of the world who are not going to make it. So in that sense, they're not going to learn righteousness. But when God is here, people are going to line up. People are going to get in line. That is, they're going to get an order. They are going to learn righteousness. And for the Jewish people, that righteousness is going to be written on their heart. So, yeah, I think, with a little bit of nuance, we would say, yeah, I think that could be where we are. Again, I think it's a little bit like, even so, come quickly, Lord Jesus. Come, take care of take care of this business here. So thank you for that anonymous question. That one happened to come in yesterday. Appreciate it. Then also from yesterday, this anonymous question. What is the biblical take on participating in Halloween? We are out of season here. We're going to take a Halloween question. I am delighted to do so. What's the biblical take on participating in Halloween? There's a little more that's here. I'll stop. I moved it away from my screen, so I'm not even tempted to look. I want to take it right there first of all. Now, ultimately, in the dispensation of the grace of God, I'll be bold here and say there's not a take. Halloween is a modern holiday. I know it goes back a long way, and we can argue even into biblical times with some paganism and some ideas about October 31st. And even, I think, we could argue that there's a reason it is October 31st and not September 30th. That goes back into Ussher's chronology. Would you check for me, Luca? Bishop Ussher, Ussser, I believe is actually how you spell that, but maybe it has an H in it. In his chronology, what was the date? I would like the day, the day of the month on the calendar. I don't care what weekday it was, but the day and the year, if we can, of Satan's fall in the annals of the history of the world. I think he's got a date. We're gonna check this here, do a little bit of research. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a real connection to October 31st. There's a reason that it's there. It's a reason that there's no debate. October 31st, that's the day for Halloween. Then, if you don't mind, also, after you get that, find a little bit, this may be too much to communicate in one side of my ear there, but communicate what the modern history of Halloween is. When did we start, say in the United States, observing Halloween on October 31st and dress up like a chicken or whatever it may be? So did we find Usher's date? Oh, okay. He's actually got it dated there. So keep pushing it. Sunday, October 23rd. 4004 BC. He has the date of creation on. What if the 23rd was the fall? Maybe it's the day of the temptation, perhaps, or the day of eating the fruit is the 31st. Somewhere Usher's got something on the 31st. Now, I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but Usher was not crazy. He's one of the most intelligent men that ever lived. And we don't have to accept everything he said just because he's smart. But we do have to recognize, hey, we're going up with some pretty heady thinking here. Somebody has put their homework into it. So I think, I'll just lay it out there to say, I think if you check with Usher, the Annals of the World, and get back into his 4004 stuff on the day of creation, the day of the creation of man, the day of the fall of Satan, which he's got on the 23rd of October, maybe the day of the eating of the fruit or the day of being cast out. There's something in there that is going to tie back. And then I think you could do a history and say, okay, whether Usher's right or not, October 31st as a Satan's day was pretty well recognized down through history, but nobody really tells you why it's recognized, why all the various cultures have gone there. We sort of lost that part of it, but that's the day they go. I may be wrong on this. I don't think other cultures have a different day for doing Halloween, but often cultures do Halloween. So let's go back to the research assistant here. We should have the Luca cam on, but we don't have a Luca cam. Do we find anything for the 31st in Usher's dating?
Not for during creation.
Okay. So there may or may not be one. We're using AI, and AI pretends to know stuff, but it doesn't always when you get specific like that. Now, in the United States or in modern Western civilization, has Halloween been something that's been observed for eons? Do we know that yet? We'll find out. I suspect that from the earliest days of the United States, pre-U.S. days, but after European civilizations began to come here, I suspect there's some Halloween date through there. Okay. So, all of that. We're looking for a biblical view. Now, none of what I said there is pieced together in Scripture. It's a little bit, let's call it oral tradition, to say, okay, there's something about that particular date that leans to Satan. Then we could find, obviously, things like, in the law, avoiding witchcraft. We could find a spirit of saying there are powers and principalities. We don't want to align with that. We don't want to mess with that. We don't want to get there. There's going to be that issue as well. But then we also find here we are in an age of grace. And being in an age of grace, should we put ourselves under the law? I think that's a very slippery slope. To say, well, yeah, we're free from the law, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one. That said, we ought to look into the character of God. We ought to look into what He has said in nature. What can we find? Do we want to honor something that is intended to glorify Satan? But then we can also flip this around again in the age of grace and say, hey, can we mock Satan? I know that there are some who would say, no, don't get in that neighborhood. And probably for good reason. But one of the things the Jewish people do, the Jewish people don't have Halloween like we talk about it. They have Purim. And Purim is a very Halloween type activity. They all dress up. And typically, a lot of people in traditional, they will dress up like figures from the book of Esther, where Purim comes from. And often Haman is in there, and, little kids dress up like Haman. They're not honoring Haman, they're mocking Haman. So can it be done in such a sense that we're not participating in satanic ritual? I think we could say yes, it can. We're not honoring the one who, maybe for whatever reason is remembered on this day. We're mocking him, sticking it in his face. Maybe so. Can a family decide, for whatever reason, let's even just go the cheapest reason. That's accommodation. Everybody's doing it. All the kids are doing it. We can dress up like like Superman and not believe that men can fly. We can dress up like a clown and have fun. We can, whatever. All that. Can a family do that and not put their children under the influence of Satan? I think yes. I think that most of our society really puts zero emphasis on the spiritual element of Halloween. And so can you hand out candy at your house on Halloween and put a gospel tract in there if you want? Not do that. I think you probably can. Can you even say, hey, this is a time in which we do a little bit remember the dead. Remember that there is death. Remember that day, a lot of different spins you can put on it. So I think I would go with the Pauline instructive to not judge somebody based upon what they do with this day or that day, the things that may take place in there. And if you've got strong feelings on it, I really don't mind you sharing your strong feelings on it. I just make sure you can convince the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. But realize that good people can do this. And it can be a time where you gather together with neighbors that you wouldn't gather together with. And you can show you're normal. If you have any normalcy in you, you may not. You can enjoy. You can be out with the kids. You can turn over the outhouse, whatever. You have all sorts of the tricks have kind of gone away, and that's probably good in our society. There's just treats now, not tricks. But there used to be tricks involved, and it was historically in modern times in the United States. It was a fun night. Can we, in the age of grace, can we just have a fun night sometime? Maybe where we even mock Satan a little bit? I kind of think so, but it's so much of personal opinion because Paul doesn't really speak to Halloween, obviously. Let's go on. Our kids dress up. This is why you kept it anonymous. Our kids dress up, trick or treat. We carve pumpkins, hand out candy, but we don't decorate or do parties. We tell our kids it's a fun day of free candy and dress up. But I wonder if it's because it's a day to celebrate other idols, if that's still okay. I think, again, personally, and I know that some people will not like this, but we don't have to have, we don't logically have to buy into guilt by association. We don't have to buy into, hey, there was once somebody who was once pagan who once did this thing, and therefore those who do it are going to be condemned of God. We do live in a different dispensation, and I think we can handle it this way. Now, other families may want to say, hey kids, there's too much wickedness associated with this, too much glorification of gory in this. I'd rather you and I stay home and let's make some cotton candy and have a movie night together as a family. If you want to do that, go for it. I think we can really be kind of gracious on this. Remember Mike Warnke? This goes back to the 80s. Remember Warnke supposedly was part of the, Church of Satan, and then he got out of it, and he made a lot of I'd say big money for the 80s, selling things, kind of an anti-Halloween spirit. That might have been about the time that Halloween quit becoming just this fun time and started being a spiritual night. Honestly, because people like Mike Warnke, who, by the way, turned out he never was in the Church of Satan, he made all that up. Some of these people made it more of a spiritual deal than it is. You get into the same thing with a Christmas tree or an Easter bunny or, a flag on the 4th of July. People, well, you're worshiping the nation, the country, you worship the flag, or, you got a pagan tree and therefore you're a pagan and everything about your life is pagan and your faith is false and you're not even a believer. Maybe you all can tell me if I'm too relativist or something like this, but I think get over it and do what you want to do as a family. What are some of the rest? I know my audience, we got older and younger, but hey, we're on in the morning and younger people are working, and so the live audience tends to be a little older. What do you think? In your experience growing up, I'm 60, maybe you're somewhere. So, I grew up in, let's say the 70s. In your experience in growing up, did you have Halloween? Did you go to a Halloween party? Did you even think of it as being some sort of partnership with the devil? Compared to some of you who may be younger, was Halloween always sort of presented as, hey, this is like the Ouija board. This is like calling Satan into your life. My sense is American Christian society made it a lot more spiritual than it ever was. And we probably should have just kept bobbing for apples and having more fun with it. I'm a fundamentalist. That doesn't sound like a fundamentalist answer, so what do y'all think? Old Man Bob, he says, when I was a little kid, everyone knew that it was a contraction of Eve of All Hallows. Ah, thank you. Hallows Eve, that's All Saints Day, and was the day before All Saints Day, he goes on. How quickly the younger version forgets. Yeah. And that's where I went into a little bit of this remembering that people die, All Hallows Eve. Not a terrible view. Michael says, we are not prohibited from celebrating Halloween. I do not celebrate it because All Saints Day, I grew up Catholic. There you have a point as well. That All Saints Day, a lot of Catholicism tied into there. And let me shift just a little bit. Speaking of Catholicism, but where I live, Dia de los Muertos is pretty big. The Day of the Dead. What day is that? Find out. Dia de los Muertos. I don't remember what it is. But anytime, it doesn't matter when you come. You come to the southwestern United States, and you probably see it most everywhere now. And it's more of a Mexican thing than it is a Hispanic or Spaniard thing. But you see the Day of the Dead, and you see those skulls, and that, and it's kind of they're always sort of joyful. They're dancing, they're driving the Chevy. It has a little bit different cultural spin to it than ghoulish. Even though it looks ghoulish, it's actually sort of a happy holiday, if you will. November 2nd. Okay. So somehow all that is tied together. Just in Mexican, South American cultures, they put it the second. And I don't know. There's a history there. It'd be kind of interesting to look into. But yeah, there's also some things there that's so Catholic that we're like, ugh. Let's see. Old Man Bob, to the Celts or Celts? I always struggle with that word. And I tell you what makes me struggle with it. It looks to me like it should be Celts, but then you got the Boston Celtics. Luca tells me it's Celts, even though it's CE, which is Celt. But it's not an English word either, so maybe we go by their rules. Yet another debate here on Ask the Theologian. To the Celts, Samhain is perhaps how you say that, was the end of the warm season, the start of the time of the little sun. It was also thought to be a time when doorways were open to the other world. Personally, I don't, and then it got. Personally, I don't do Halloween. Yeah, which I think is no doubt. However you put it, I think we would find there are some things in there that we would have to reject. Can we observe them and reject them, or is it easier sometimes to just say, I don't do that, or order pizza on that night? In Green Bay, we used to go to, Myra says, to the cheap theater as a family on Halloween. We were the only ones there. It was fun. See, you can so easily find a good plan. Yeah, and all the other families are not going to the theater on the 31st, and so hey, it's movie night. Let's go out. Let's get us the dollar movie and be ready to do with it. Jay brings up 2 Corinthians 11, 14, and 15. No marvel, Satan is himself transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it's no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. And says, is this what Satan is doing today? Not lurking around waiting for some kid to dress up to go trick-or-treating. There you have a good point. I think there's a couple of ways I could take that point. But if Satan is transforming himself as an angel of light, I guess there's two ways you could argue. One is you could argue, look how he's dressed up Halloween to make it look like something you should do at church. Another way you could say is he's probably more working at the seminary than he is working at the trick-or-treat night, because he's dressed up as an angel of light. So, however way you take it, some good word. Tony down in Georgia, good answer on Halloween, thank you. The grace answer, in my opinion, is Romans 14:5. Thank you. I had that scripture in mind, but I couldn't place where it was. One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. That's such a great age of grace answer to say, okay, let's look at this. Let's have a good reason. Let's think through. Let's decide what we're going to do as a family. And I think that can be very helpful. Tony comes. I want to come back to Tim. Tony comes and says, most people I know that avoid paganism are very selective in what they avoid and are inconsistent. Yeah, I totally agree with that. You know, again, you're not supposed to have a Christmas tree because it's pagan. But hey, this is Wednesday. I happen to know that Wednesday is named after the Nordic god Woden's. That's why it's spelled W-E-D. Woden's Day. And can you believe it? On Woden's Day, my church has a dinner every Woden's Day to celebrate Woden. No, nobody cares about Wednesday being named Wednesday. But then we get into, you know, they called it Easter, have a heart attack. Very selective. Instead of being fully persuaded in his own mind. Tim up in Omaha, what do you think about churches doing Halloween carnivals as outreach, or is this an individual decision? I'm going to go with an individual church decision, but let me also, I will go ahead and speak to this here in this Halloween in August. I'll speak to it from a practical pastoral point of view. Not our church here, but I've been in churches, I pastored churches that did, you know, Halloween events. They never call them the Halloween Carnival. We used to in the 70s. It's the Halloween Carnival. But then Mike Warnke came along, and you're not supposed to say that now, so now it's the Harvest Festival. Because nobody driving by thinks that's anything other than Halloween. Call it what you want. Here's where I would say, hey, I'm not so sure about it. Absolutely, you can have a big crowd. No doubt about it. As a matter of fact, I would say that with little effort and not even so much money, you know, trunk or treat or something, you can have the biggest event of the year. It is the easiest thing to get. And maybe theoretically, you can get these kids' names and addresses and you invite them back, you know, to the bus ministry. Nobody has those anymore, unfortunately. I think it was a good thing. I think it was a good thing when they had them. You know, you can get them in the bus ministry. You can get them into Vacation Bible School. You can follow up, all those kind of things. And theoretically, that works because really you do get a big crowd. The ones that we did for a while in Katy, Texas, literally it got so big, we had it in our church parking lot, and we had a big parking lot. There was not room in the parking lot. We had to move it to this events center. And the last year that we counted, 10,000 people. I kid you not. 10,000 people came to this thing. We did this a number of years in a row. And obviously, if you got 10,000 people, now you're not talking trunk or treat, you're talking some money going into it. And you're talking a lot of time going into it. And, you know, after a few years, I began to look and I said, okay, we had 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, we had 10,000 people. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. In that time, and we did a good job following up. We would literally go. We had 60 or 70 teams, teams of 3 people that would go and would, literally, hey, thank you for coming to the harvest celebration. And they would not leave that place without saying, hey, in your personal opinion, what do you understand it takes for a person to go to heaven? Open it up, have a witnessing experience at the door. And do you know that in the, 5, 6, 7 years of doing this, we got one family that started coming to the church. Granted, she's faithful to this day, watches sometimes on this program. And helped raise her boys and, did pretty good, all that kind of stuff. One family. I eventually said, let's don't do this anymore. It's big money that doesn't have a good return on investment. It's not only big money, but it's a lot of time. Because, people plan these things, they work these things, they prepare these things, they set up for the 2-hour event or 3-hour event, whatever it is. And huge amount of time. I'm like, I think we can find a better way to spend our time and money. Now, that said, also, let me say, in my town where I am now, and this is probably becoming true in a lot of towns, there's no need for my church to do this because the town does it. They have a citywide event, and the business people, they're the people. It's down at the plaza, and everybody goes store to store, and the business people have bukus of candy and better stuff than we would do, and they have booths and all this kind of stuff, and it's all, let the town spend the money on that. And we can set up a booth if we want. We have sometimes, we don't sometimes. We can set up a booth if we want, and hand out some candy and some little things if we want. Furthermore, where my church is, we're close enough to where all the traffic is that we could open the door out front and say, hey, free Tootsie Rolls, whatever. So my deal on it is, if you just want something impressive to put on social media, say you had a lot of people, yeah, it will work. Is it that effective? Not in my experience. Has someone else had something more effective? Maybe. It's a little bit the same with, I won't do these a lot anymore, but, used to always have, the Christmas cantata or, the pageant or whatever. They got real camels this year. And you get a crowd for that. They will come out. And it's an easy crowd builder. But again, it's a lot of money and a lot of time. And you just don't get that much out of it. In terms of long-term impact. So I'd leave it to the church, but that's the word that I would give there. Mary down in Texas says, when I was in high school, my youth group put on a haunted house and pass out tracts. Remember they did that Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames. And it was mostly for older children or teenagers, and they'd scare the bejeebies out of them and then give them a gospel tract at the end. And that too, it was always, we had 200 kids accept Jesus Christ. I'm not sure fear is really the best way to do it. I'm sure there are some legitimate salvations there. But nobody ever had 200 new kids in their youth group the week after. Probably didn't have 2. Marie, I keep doing that. Mary, maybe, in your memory, goes back a ways, like mine, but was there growth that came from it? Spiritual growth. It's sort of fun, and it maybe makes people think, but I don't know if they still do Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames. I haven't heard of that in years. But it was they really did design it to be as scary as you can get and as gruesome as you could get, and it's fun for the kids to put on too, right? You know, you dressed up as, you know, you were the kid in the car wreck, and from the drunk driver, you were, you know, all these real aspects of life, and then there's lights and shining things, and you know, most of them were done quite well, and people will pay money to get scared. So, Myra says, it's like the Easter egg event. I've seen it with thousands, no presentation of the gospel. And I've been to seen a small church do one. I think the small church had the youth group do skits and sing, and split and the spirit of the event was totally different. It's a good point. You could do it two different ways. You know, it's the same in my town. I'm going a long ways on this, long time on this. But it's the same in my town. Why would we do an Easter egg hunt? Because the town does one in the park right across the street. We get out from Easter and they're all wanting to use our parking lot so they can walk out to go to the Easter egg hunt. No, not the people that came to church, the other people. That's what you got. Yeah. A little ROI wouldn't be a bad thing, return on investment. Now, it's a little hard, obviously. You're talking eternal matters and knowing where the impact is. But I would guarantee churches get a much better return of investment by having a Bible study every week. There you go. I spent a lot of time on that anonymous question. But we got it. Okay, here's another question comes in today. It says, Mr. Randy, sir. Nice. I always thought that the everlasting gospel in the book of Revelation is a second chance for those in that time. What do you say? Let's see, the everlasting gospel, I think that's Revelation 14, 5 or 6 or so, but I may be wrong as to the time. Yeah, it's not. Oh yeah, Revelation 14, beginning in verse 6. I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice. Now, I assume what he is saying with a loud voice right here is this everlasting gospel. You know, I guess it would be a weak argument, but you could argue, well, he had the everlasting gospel, but he was saying something else. Not a strong case at all. But, so I'm going to assume he's saying the everlasting gospel, and the everlasting gospel is fear him, give glory to him. And one of the reasons he's saying this is the hour of judgment has come. Worship him that made heaven, earth, sea, and the fountains of waters. But the heart of the everlasting gospel, fear God and give glory to him. Now, just because I preached it on Sunday, it fits with Ecclesiastes chapter 11, what about verse 13. The conclusion of the whole matter, fear God and keep his commandments. Probably should have stopped right there, but this is the whole duty of man. So, fear God, that's exactly the same. Give glory to him, a little different over here, keep his commandments. Would be one way of at least giving glory to him. This is the whole duty of man. Now, as to this being a second chance for those in that time, there is a sense in which you are right. The chance that we have now is the chance to be saved by grace through faith. If we're raptured out of here and Tom, Dick, and Harry decide, we weren't interested in that gift of grace, and they continue to live. There is then a second chance, but it is different. Rather than by grace through faith, not of works, it is fear God, give glory to Him, keep His commandments. I think we could add all that in there, even using the book of Revelation. So in that sense, it is a second chance. Now, I should add one more passage here, and that is, get everything set up there. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, where it talks about the delusion. Let's see. Well, I'm in the wrong chapter. And I'm having a hard time getting to the right chapter. Okay. So, where are we here? All right, reveals a mystery. Okay, we've taken it away. For this reason, somewhere it says, God will send upon them a strong delusion. Verse 11. I was too early looking for it. Okay, so for this cause, God shall send a strong delusion that they should believe a lie. So, somebody, this gospel at least is being proclaimed. Fear God, keep His commandments. And I think there are those who hear this and accept it. But can you call it a second chance if those who rejected the first chance are under a strong delusion that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned? Now, damned, I think we could take it in the way we use it now, but in the King James, it wasn't quite as pointed as ours. But let's just take it as, go to hell. So God sends a strong delusion. They believe a lie. This strong delusion is so that they might be damned. Now, is this a thing of, I'm going to proclaim the gospel, but you can't hear it, nanny boo-boo, because you're under a strong delusion? I don't think so. I think there is a gospel, everlasting gospel that is preached. Those who rejected the grace gospel before the rapture, they are under a strong delusion, and all of them will be damned. But there will be some who did not reject the truth. They didn't hear the truth. They weren't old enough to comprehend the truth. Maybe they weren't even born. So in that sense, when this second chance comes along, it can't really be called a second chance. It has to be called a first chance. So I think we could build an argument to say, if you live as an unsaved person, if you live in the time of the rapture, you have lost your chance. Because God is putting you under a strong delusion in order that you would not believe, in order that you would believe a lie and you would be damned. I think there's a pretty strong textual case to make for that. So they don't get a second chance. But then we see the gospel preached and proclaimed, the everlasting gospel, the gospel of that time proclaimed. We see the Jewish people coming, for example. And so I think we have to conclude, hey, this is a different group of people. Could you even say, here we're going to venture into some thin ice. But could you even say that the Jewish people today are blinded under a national blindness? So they don't even have their first chance here. They've got their first chance there. That one's harder to build, but could you do it? Or do we have a completely new Jewish generation as well that grows up that are those who come about? That is possible. You know, if you take 144,000 virgins, it's possible to say, okay, these people at the time of the rapture, they were 8-year-old boys. And therefore, the Lord selected 144,000 of them, and they became that 144,000 remnant. Interesting question. I always thought the everlasting gospel in the book of Revelation is a second chance for those in that time. It certainly is a chance. Second is the word that I would question on there. And again, we probably ought to build that case to make sure we're doing okay with that. Thank you very much for that. Good question. Here's our next question of the day. Hello, Randy. Do we rightly divide Paul's letters only? 2 Timothy 2:15 is where we get the right division instruction. Study. Rightly dividing modifies study. So how do we study? We study by rightly dividing. The word of truth modifies rightly dividing, tells us what we are rightly dividing, the word of truth. Now, I think here we would have to say the word of truth is not just like 2 + 2 is 4. But I guess we want to rightly divide the word of truth. Say, okay, is 2 + 2 always 4? Is it ever not 4? Is there dispensational truth and 2 + 2 is 4? Maybe we could take just truth altogether. Is there I don't know of one, but is there is the phrase word of truth anywhere else in the Bible? I think that we've got to take this. Well, as a biblical literalist, the first thing I say is let's take it in the broadest way possible. And that would just be truth. Not even Pauline letters, which I think we would say are word of truth. The 66 books of the Bible, which is the word of truth. But the sky is blue is the word of truth. But I don't know. It doesn't happen all that often, but this morning our sky wasn't blue. Our sky was kind of gray. You have to rightly divide the word of truth. So what day are you talking about? Sunshiny day or a cloudy day? So maybe we should just take it in its most broad way. Can Scripture interpret that to narrow it down? Do we have any word of truth phrases? Okay. The answer is we don't know. We've got, Psalm 119:43, take not the word of truth out of my mouth. We've got 2 Corinthians 6:7. pull some of these up here where you can see them. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 7, middle column here. By the word of truth, by the power of God, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor, by evil. Speaks on, we probably need to back up a few verses. Oh, okay, Paul's giving his testimony. In stripes, imprisonments, tumults, labors, watchings, fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long-suffering kindness, by the Holy Ghost, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of God. You know, here, this, by the word of truth, that's Pauline. Is he saying by my epistles? Interesting one to look at. Now, here's one that defines it decently. Ephesians 1:13, in whom ye also trusted after that ye heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation. Now, I think that, didn't do very good highlighting that, did I? There we go. We would certainly want to say that. Okay, that one's an easy one. The word of truth is the gospel of your salvation. But I think because it's in Psalm 119:43, take not the word of truth utterly out of thy mouth, I think we would have to say we can't use Ephesians 1:13 as the full definition of the word of truth, because that word wasn't in Psalm 119. Let's try James 1:18. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth. Okay, here's another one that gives a bit of a definition to the word of truth. That's just the word that how he brought us about. Now, the us, we would want to look and say, is this Israel, which was brought about by the spoken word of God, or is it humanity? God said, brought us with the word of truth. I think this is talking about Israel because he says that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. So it wouldn't be his creatures in general. This must be about Israel. So if you took some of those, I don't know if that's totality of them, but there we got 6 scriptures, Old Testament and New Testament, that speak about the word of truth. If you took the 2 easiest ones, again, are the Ephesians 1:13, the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation. That one defines it. But James 1:18, the word of truth that begats the nation of Israel, is another definition. Now, that is so spread apart that do we need to come back to the possible original premise all the way over here on the left, rightly dividing the word of truth, just to say, that's true, now rightly divide it. And by rightly dividing it there in that category would be make a straight cut where this doesn't belong. For example, that which kills does not belong in your body. It's truth. And then you get a tooth infection, and you go to the dentist and he gives you an antibiotic, that which kills. Take it. That's what kills that thing that's making your tooth hurt, right? So there are times we take carefully and the proper dosage, all that kind of stuff, we take that which kills in the body. So, yeah, is it true, hey, that which kills doesn't belong in the body? Sometimes you better put it in the body because you've got a more fundamental truth. This one will kill you faster than that one, whatever it is. So rightly dividing the word of truth might be, maybe we should take it in its most broad sense rather than its most narrow sense, because I think we're going to have a hard time determining what its most narrow sense is. And I don't think we can say Paul's letters only. However, I think that there are way too many who leave Paul's letters out of this instruction. I don't think they have anything to go on there. So, hey, rightly divide the word of truth means they take that as separate Paul out and then leave Paul together. Don't divide his word of truth. But he literally does say, again, in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 6, that he went about working by the word of truth. That would have to be Pauline there. And so if we're to rightly divide the word of truth, we got to rightly divide Paul. Nice of it to stick it in there and give us that one. So I think I'm gonna go with, if it's true, we should rightly divide it. Are there things that are absolutely true in every circumstance of life? I suspect so. The presence of God, the being of God, the character of God, things that never change, things that I think we would call these things immutable. Some of those you have to take everywhere. Are there truths outside of the Bible which are always true? I suspect so. Are there truths outside of the Bible in which you might have a context in which you would not use that truth? You would ignore that truth. You would overcome that truth. I think probably so. So rightly dividing the word of truth is probably a much bigger challenge than we take it to be. That was an excellent question. Thank you. And I am out of time today. But hey, let me tell you a couple of things. I got a free book for you. It's on speaking of truth that comes from nature. More Than Words, The Moral Power of Music Itself. It's a free booklet. It's available at dispensationalpublishing.com. Go check that out. And we'll drop it in the mail to you today. And be happy for you to get that. Then tonight, we're studying 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. And we'll be in there about 10 minutes after 6 o'clock Mountain Time. I'll be broadcasting. You can join us live or on the archives. And, of course, we'll be back tomorrow. And I've got one or two questions that I didn't get to today, but whatever your questions are, we're about caught up, and so we'll be able to take your questions. If you got one, this is a good time to submit it. AskTheTheologian.com. Certainly do appreciate each of you today. And God bless you. Might still be able to get you in Branson if you're interested in going. Thanks for being here with us today. We shall see you soon. Till then, you take care. God bless.